welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway, or I say welcome to Texas Motor Speedway as we have our second race of the season here at Texas Motor Speedway. The American Ethanol Truck Series is getting ready to go, and we will start you guys off with the qualifying race. Qualifying will set the top 10 drivers will transfer to the actual race, as that is what we are looking forward to, as Rick Witt takes the pole and he will take the lead off the start. Chris Malley to his outside, and he's also got Jake Rogers pushing him. Rogers' team driver Tristan Allen on the bottom side trying to take an advantage off of that start that Rick Witt got as we head into the back straightaway. The back straightaway, one of the longer ones on the series, due to the fact that even though this is a 1.5 mile oval, it's still one of the bigger tracks on the schedule, as Rick Witt able to hold off a charge from Tristan Allen into the first lap, as that is one lap out of 17 complete here in this one. However, we do have one driver who's having a few issues, Brandon Morris in the 555 car. He is dropping pace, and he is really off the pace as well. He is falling way off of the rest of the field. Hopefully that team can get something going. They said that they had a problem last time and that it's kind of continuing on. Peter Onjak, however, fighting for his chance to get into a race for Foster Automation and Tip Foster Motorsports. Both of those are on the car, and pretty much it's a self-funded operation. He and Tip Foster, relatively friends, I would assume. However, you can see Chris Malley has, I believe, fallen a ways off. However, later in this run, you can see they're fighting. Chris Malley, Alex Tanker, and Peter Onjak all fighting for survival to get into this race. As you can see, Alex Tanker, he was scored 11th, and after passing Peter Onjak, that will score him in the 10th position. Coming to the line this next time by, we are coming to lap 14. The laps are winding down, and Peter Onjak has to get by the 44 or he will be knocked out of this race. As you can see, the positions change, and Jake Rogers coming up to the front of the field. He started up at the front, was able to make his way past everybody, and he is up in the lead. As we are continuing, this is the final lap of your qualifying session, and Jake Rogers pretty much a big lead. Tristan Allen right behind him, or not right behind him, but close behind, as they come to the checkered flag. This time by Jake Rogers taking the victory. Doesn't mean he will take the top position, but he will be the first driver to be able to qualify out of this group. Alex Tanker pulled a little bit of a gap. Chris Malley pulled a gap on him, and that would be pretty much the end of it for Peter Onjak and that battle, as Alex Tanker will take the 10th and final spot. Peter Onjak ends up outside of the top 10, and that's going to be it as we go into your starting lineup. Stuart Gratton and Rick Witt with a good qualifying run after that qualifying race. Nathan Lukac in second, Nathan Hellman bringing up third, or bringing up fourth. Cesar Chavez fifth, and Mitchell Henderson in sixth in the third row. Fourth row, Jake Rogers and Eric Monaco. Fifth row, Jason Kranz and Kenny Washington. Bill Cox, sixth row inside, and Isaac Nichols to his outside. Seventh row, Jack Corkins, your winner from Texas World, and Tristan Allen in the 98 car, or the 98 truck, in the outside of the seventh row. Eighth row inside, Gatlin Downey was the big catalyst for why Jack Corkins won, and Derek Yarworth outside of row number 8. Tanya Breyer and Adaine Jones in row 9, and coming into row 10 is Kev Shearer in the 50, and Ben Crouch hoping to get something good done for that 03 team, as that is the single truck team, Ben Crouch Motorsports. Jonathan King and Scott Roush, teammates in the 11th row. A bad qualifying for Bob Schwepka, but Ryan Kendall as well on his outside. Chris Malley 13th row inside, Steve Hickman to his outside, Zachary Fitzgerald, his teammate, in 14th row inside, Cullen Denton to his outside, Alexander Rowe in 15th row inside, Josh Joyner Jr. for Jake Rogers Motorsports, the last car of that team in the field. 15th row outside as Zachary Fitzwater, who was also part of that incident in Texas World. 16th row inside is Stephen Thompson to his outside. He is on probation after that incident, so they will be watching him for any future issues. Aiden Valdez, Alex Tanker in row 17, and Daniel Bouchard and Richard Fridge will be the final row. That is going to do it for your starting lineup. 36 trucks make the start, and we will get ready to go here at Texas as Stuart Gratton leads them down to the stripe. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing. As they come out to turn 2, Stuart Gratton, not the best jump on the start, but is able to get the preferred line on the inside, coming to the back straightaway, and they are 3 wide, 2 rows deep for 7th and for I believe 5th and 7th, second and 7th, or 2nd and 5th place. As Stuart Gratton starts to pull out a little bit, Cesar Chavez with a good jump off of the rest of that, as things start to get a little bit spread out now as we continue on. They're still 3 wide, it looks like, for 4th position. Looks like Mitchell Henderson possibly back there as Stuart Gratton continues to lead him around. Stuart Gratton is one of the faster trucks, and that is a single truck team sponsored by Xfinity. That is his sponsor in the AACA Pennzoil Pro Series, and that has done him well. He has had a lot of work to do on that truck and has made it a lot faster than it was last season for sure. However, not as fast as Nathan Lukac, and he ends up falling back a little bit. Jack Porkins, you can see back there, winner of Texas World. Jason Kranz, however, trying to make something work as well, with Jake Rogers pushing him on the inside. Nathan Lukac, though, he was one of the fastest trucks in practice. That team really struggled with every one of their trucks except for Nathan Lukac. Something was going with Lukac in that 6 truck, and it could possibly be the practice that he's getting at Atlanta with the Pennzoil Pro Series, or just the fact that the truck is fast. And Jason Kranz right now behind him wasn't the fastest in practice, was about 10th position off in practice, but Jake Rogers definitely another truck that was definitely fast in practice, and he's going to be one to watch as well as we continue onwards. Jack Porkins, we were talking about him. He won at Texas World, the last race that we were at, and what an interesting finish that was, because he won it almost just being at the right place at the right time, and it mainly was the catalyst for what he's doing now. Allies came on to that truck after a abysmal last season, I guess you could call for him, although he was unsponsored for a majority of that season, getting a small sponsorship deal at the end of the season, but coming back strong with Allied on the truck, as that was his sponsor with when he was at Red Stallion Racing. However, he's no longer in that organization, but still keeps Allied on as a sponsor, as I believe it is kind of a driver sponsor, team sponsor sort of thing. So Jack Porkins right now running pretty decent, not too far back in the field, but definitely is not up at the front right now, and is hoping to get something going here in the mid-run, as about 30 laps in we'll start to see pit stops, and that's going to be about the halfway point of the race, so things are going to be a little bit dodgy from that point on. And Porkins hoping to get something going here if he doesn't just continuously fall back, as it looks like he might be doing. Something could be either a miss with that truck, or he's just not on pace right now as he was in qualifying. As we look forward, though, we see Nathan Lukac still leading, but Jake Rogers right on his tail. Cesar Chavez has fallen a little bit off the front 2, but Lukac continuing to lead as we hit the 19 lap mark, and we're heading into lap number 20. This lap being 67 laps, almost 70. This is a 100-mile race, actually 100.5 miles. However, this race will keep most of these drivers entertained. One pit stop will most likely be required, and I did say around lap 30 is when they are going to start coming into pit. Nathan Lukac, however, still leading this race, and he has actually pulled a little bit out from Jack Porkins. We can also see the 38 of Tanya Breyer, if she comes into frame maybe down the front stretch. She has been picking her way through the field for most of this one, as a lot of the leaders have kind of just stayed stagnant after they've started to spread out a little bit. However, they can still run right up behind each other, and that's what Jake Rogers is doing. He might have an opportunity here down the front stretch. And he will have an opportunity. He's going to take it going into the first corner. Jake Rogers to the inside, and he's going to pretty much take it, and Lukak's not really going to bother too much with defending it. And we talked about Tanya Breyer. She has pushed her way all the way up to second place about 10 laps after that little excursion between Nathan Lukak and Jake Rogers. However, Rogers is still far up the field, and she was definitely going to need a little bit of help to get up to the back end of that 08 truck, as he is definitely the fastest truck, at least right now. That could change, even though Tanya Breyer has been moving through the field, and she is slowly catching the 08. But for the most part, Jake Rogers has had the fastest truck pretty much all weekend. Again, these three have kind of, maybe not Tanya Breyer, but Nathan Lukak and Jake Rogers have definitely shown a lot of speed throughout the weekend. And it could be something with those teams just getting something right. As we can see, Chris Malley actually has pushed his way up through the field, back in 5th place right now. But it's kind of unsure whether or not these drivers, maybe found something in the practice session before qualifying, or what has these drivers so fast compared to the rest of them. But they have definitely had something the whole weekend that no one seemed to have been able to catch on to, except for maybe Tanya Breyer and Jason Kranz right now, as both of those drivers are still running fairly quickly. However, we have hit lap number 31, which means that pit stops probably are not far behind, and not wrong is lap 33. We can see the 90 truck. He got the wave from Cesar Chavez, as he will be pulling down to the inside, and also as we will see come into frame here when we go down the front stretch, Nathan Lukak also coming into pit this time by. So 2 of your leaders, driver in 3rd as well, with Nathan Lukak and Cesar Chavez as well in the I believe a little bit outside the top 5, but still pretty close in the race so far. Jake Rogers now bringing down the majority of the trucks, all the top 3, and then you can see Chris Malley in the background there. Kenny Washington, Bob Schwepke, and Jonathan King will hold on for one more lap. You can see Isaac Nichols and Mitchell Henderson as well. Both of those drivers not having the greatest days, but definitely looking for something good. Going with the little bit of the overcut here on the, I believe that was lap 34, lap 35, coming to lap 36 now. So I believe that was lap 35, and they were able to keep the lead in the pit lane. However, these are your leaders now coming back onto the pit lane. Nathan Lukak with a good speeding run as we continue to move through here. And he has caught the very back of the 08 and the 38, as, again, these 3 have kind of been the talk of the field right now. There's Schwepke and there's Washington, so a little bit of a later pit stop might have actually helped them a little bit, as they are looking like they might come back up in front of a lot of the back end of the top 5 that are not up here with these leaders. Jake Rogers still, however, holding the lead, but Tanya Breyer has pulled up to his back bumper. She's going to take the advantage, and she's going to look into it. And it looks like the ticker is a little bit incorrect there, but it won't be completely incorrect. Once they come around, I believe it's a little bit ahead. It's looking forward into time, if you ask me. But again, now we have hit lap 38 as we continue on. Meanwhile, Jason Kranz has had an issue on pit lane, something with the electrical system. Maybe a tire fell off during the pit stop, but something definitely went wrong with that 25 car, and it was kind of a surprise to see the 25 stay in pit lane for so long. But he's fallen way off the pace. He's currently in 35th right now. The car in 36th is Ben Crouch, who is disappointed, who is definitely disappointed on the radio. We could hear what he's been saying, and definitely has not been happy. Engine seems like it's under power. Meanwhile, up towards the front, however, we have the 15 of Zachary Fitzgerald. That team is a new team. Technically not a new team, actually. It was the 33 team last season. Fitzgerald bought the car, and I believe he was involved in one of the big wrecks at Texas World, but he bought the car and brought it to Rem Auto Racing, which is the 64 truck of Steve Hickman, and the 22 of Bill Cox. That is a driver-owned team. All three of them pretty much own the team and the cars and drive for all three of them. So, sort of an interesting operation that these three have going, but they've been able to keep it going for a pretty decent amount of time. And it looks like they're not doing too badly here, as the 15 is continuing to have a pretty decent run here at Texas for the second race of the season. However, back up at the front, Tanya Breyer and Nathan Lukac still fighting for that lead. Nathan Lukac is right on Breyer's back bumper as Jake Rogers has started to fall off a little bit after pit stops. Possibly a bad adjustment on the 08 truck, as Lukac coming in to try and take an advantage off of Tanya Breyer. Moving to her inside lane into turn number 3, and that's one of the few places that we haven't seen people make moves, especially for the lead. We've mostly seen them do it on the front stretch coming into turn 1, but not so much into turn 3, and Lukac able to clear Breyer into the back stretch out of turn 2. As you can see, there's Jake Rogers a little bit further back. Not much really going on with that battle, as we're closing in onto the 10 to go mark, as Nathan Lukac might be able to start pulling away if he's got the truck to do it. Tanya Breyer, however, looks like she's not going to be letting him go quite that easily, as she's still holding on to that back bumper of Nathan Lukac, still pulling in, and she might make a move down the back stretch. No, she will not, but she's definitely gotten a lot closer to Nathan Lukac than they were a lap ago. And while I did think that Nathan Lukac might be able to take advantage of it and pull away, looks like Tanya Breyer's not going to let that one happen, and she's going to make a move to the inside again in the first turn and come out and easily past Nathan Lukac. As Lukac, it's almost like every time someone tries to get by him, he lets him go. Maybe it could be a strategy, as he will retake the lead from Breyer. Breyer seems to be maybe a little bit off the pace at this point, but still pretty much close up to the leaders as Jake Rogers began to pull back in. We are within 5 to go of this 67 lap race, and we can see Ben Crouch a little bit ahead. He is the last car in the field, as he has been complaining about engine troubles on that 03 car. Seems to be the truck is just underpowered, as Nathan Lukac, Tanya Breyer, Chris Malley, and Jake Rogers are all kind of battling with each other. And while the 38 tries to get by Jake Rogers down the backstretch, that's going to allow the 6 to start to pull out a little bit, as Tanya Breyer might start to try and reel him in after getting by Jake Rogers, but it could be that Nathan Lukac just is too far away at this point. Not enough laps to go as we hit lap number 65. That means there's about 3 laps to go. And Tanya Breyer has really got to pick up the pace, or else someone's going to try and get by her. And Chris Malley's pulled in right to her back bumper. She's going to maybe have an issue with Chris Malley trying to get by. Malley does not make the move, and he will come back and stick right back in line between him and the 38 of Breyer. Meanwhile, Nathan Lukac holding the lead. Malley goes to the inside again. This time it's going to stick, and he will take the inside from Tanya Breyer, as the battle is for second place right now, and this is pretty much going to allow Lukac to get out to a pretty substantial lead, as if he didn't have one already. Nathan Lukac coming to the white flag this time by holding the lead, as the rest of them battle behind. Nathan Lukac, pretty much the fastest truck in the field for this one. And for the most part, unless something catastrophic happens, I think he's got this one in the bag as they head down the backstretch. Nathan Lukac, definitely a fast truck all day. He started up at the front, made his way to the lead, lost it a little bit in the midway, but came back, took it back from Jake Rogers and Tanya Breyer, and comes home to win here at Texas. Nathan Lukac taking his first win in his second race of the MSCA American Ethanol Truck Series, and what a good win that was. He actually did show a lot of speed throughout the whole weekend, and it came home to him in a win. So then we have, and after the fact, we actually see we're following Ben Crouch in the 03 truck. He almost went a lap down, but didn't, and you could see that's actually his engine blowing up. So the engine lasted him the entire race and let go right before the line. So a little bit of a disappointment, I guess, if you could say, for Ben Crouch, but he was lucky that the engine kept the guts in it for the rest of the race. However, Nathan Lukac even luckier than him as he takes the win. Chris Malley with a good run finishing second. Cesar Chavez coming out actually at the very end of the race, finishing third. Breyer getting moved back and forth, and Jake Rogers finishing out the top 5. Ryan Kendall with a good run up in 6th. 7th for Bob Schwebke. 8th for Alexander Rowe. 9th Zachary Fitzgerald. And 10th is Kenny Washington. So that later pitting strategy might have actually helped that team, or those drivers. Zachary Fitzwater 11th. Rick Wood, after starting on the outside pole, is 12th. 13th Bill Cox. 14th Tristan Allen, falling off a lot after that one. 15th King, Shearer, Thompson, Monaco, and then I believe it was the 88 and Nichols in 20th. 21st, Nathan Howman, not a good run for him. Aiden Valdez, a decent run, beating his team owner, Ian Jones. Gatlin Downey, 23rd. 24th, Ian Jones. 25th, Mitchell Henderson. 26th, Stuart Grattan, not a good day for the pole sitter. 27th, Derek Yarworth. 28th, Colin Denton. 29th, Richard Fridge, and 30th, Jason Kranz, after making up a few spots after that issue on pit lane. Steve Hickman, 31st, Scott Roush, 32nd, Josh Jordan Jr., 33rd, 34th, Daniel Bouchard, 35th, Alex Tanker, and blowing up on the final lap. Coming to the line is Ben Crouch in 36th position, so not a great showing for some of the bigger teams right now. As we go to the point standings, Nathan Lukac holding 95 points over Jack Porkins, so he's got a 15-point lead so far. Tanya Breyer in 3rd after 2 decent finishes. 4th, Kenny Washington. 5th, Schwebke. 6th, Fitzwater after a semi-decent finish at Texas. 7th, Bill Cox. 8th, Alexander Rowe. 9th, Cesar Chavez. And holding on to 10th place right now is Derek Yarworth, which is kind of a surprise seeing how far down the order he was. Richard Fridge is in 11th. Ryan Kendall, after coming back in that race, is 12th. 13th, Kev Shearer. 14th, Fitzgerald. Jason Kranz, 15th. Mitchell Henderson, last year's champion, not doing too hot in the first 2 races. 16th. 17th, Jonathan King. Aiden Valdez, 18th. 19th, Isaac Nichols. And Stuart Grattan tied with him for 20th position, and it's kind of ironic that those two are actually quite good friends, both Australians, and it's interesting to see them both tied on points. Daniel Bouchard, Nathan Hellman as well, tied for points. Those are teammates. Scott Roush in 23rd, 24th, Tristan Allen, so something that he really needs to pick up on. 25th, Colin Denton, and right above the cut line, tied with Rick Witt, but Rick Witt, since he was below the cut line last week, will stay below there in 27th. So Ben Crouch holding on for one more week. Gatlin Downey, Eric Monaco, Steve Hickman will have to qualify in next week. And that is going to be it for your MSCA American Ethanol Truck Series here at Texas. And I hope to see you guys next time in the American Ethanol Truck Series. See you guys next one.